Hi, folks. Welcome to another episode of Film Study. This is Ken McCusick, and it's time for this week's matchups episode for the defense. Looking forward to Week 5 and that matchup against the Bengals. Joining me to do it is co-host Frazier Jafar. Frazier, how you doing?
Doing good, Ken. Glad to be back on for this big divisional matchup against the Bengals after a big Sunday night win against the Bills.
A giant game, one of the real big wins in Ravens history. I think we'll be thinking about this one for a long time in that category. A 25-point win over the Bills, a team that hadn't been beaten by more than 6 in almost 3 years. And they certainly look great in that game, and we just hope we get another one like it.
Yeah, and hopefully getting a good start to the division series of games that we have. For our first matchup that we're looking at, I expect the Ravens to come out and rattle Joe Burrow early. Getting him out of rhythm is key to this game, especially early. He's someone that needs to get a couple of throws, make sure his footwork's right, so later in the game he's able to sustain that same posture. Once you get him second guessing on what he wants to do, that's where you have him.
All right. Well, I think one of the things they can do to make him feel uncomfortable is to show him cover 2 looks, and what we've seen in the last 4 regular season games against him, and he threw for 525 5 regular season games ago. But the last 4, the Ravens have really contained him. It's largely been cover 2 looks McDonald showed him, and really got him away from throwing deep. Burrow, with his fairly limited arm strength, doesn't like to throw deep into the teeth of cover 2. It's something the Ravens have used very much to their advantage, and forced him into a screen game, a lot of ball out quick to either side, some slants as well. But that's where I think a lot of the activity will be on Sunday. I think they'll if the Ravens show them cover 2 again, I think a lot of that short passing game is where their offense is going to be focused. So I like the idea of at least showing him that cover 2 look. And then you have lots of opportunities from that to rotate your coverages down, use robbers to erase routes, particularly specific wide receivers off that too high look. I think you also want to play some zone from that initial look that you go from, some cover 3 probably. Play the ball in the air. You can also just play quarters and have the 2 high safeties, the cover 2 pairing, be watching the ball in the air. And I think that's been very successful before. We saw Geno Stone with an interception last year at Cincinnati. They tried a number of things on that play. If you've seen that Ben Solak breakup of it, to try and manipulate Stone, but he misread what was going on, and he actually couldn't be manipulated because he was looking right at Burrow the whole time. So moved over, had an easy interception on the play.
Yep, and I think something that had me excited last week during the Bills game, I think it was the first sack that Kyle Van Noy had. Ravens, I remember they had single high coverage, and then everyone was at the line of scrimmage, and then they dropped back at the snap. And that really confused Josh Allen, and he just had to pull the ball down and take the hit. I'm expecting more of that from Orr. That's something that was missing in the first couple of weeks, so we're able to see more of that, just messing with their protection and just messing with Joe Burrow's reads is definitely key.
They did a good job last week with their schematic pressure. So they weren't bad by any stretch with just the 4-man rush, although it was probably its weakest point of the season. But when they brought Marlon Humphrey, they did that 4 times as a off-ball blitzer, meaning he was somewhere out, at least as far as the slot corner, at least a yard and a half off the line of scrimmage. And the 4 times they brought him, 3 of those were the Ravens' 3 sacks. So that was successful. They were successful with some of their simulated pressure as well, which if you're talking about confusing the offensive line, I think simulated pressure is a good way to do it. I actually think it's probably less successful with Burrow specifically, but you got 2 entities you're trying to confuse here. You've got the offensive line and you've got Burrow. So you might put your players in a little bit worse position to defend short passes by having them drop from the line of scrimmage, but you might also put yourself in position to get a free runner.
Yep. And I think one way, speaking of Marlon, how we can maybe open up opportunity to get him as a free rusher is, will we have him traveling with Chase? One thing that comes to mind is the explosive game that Chase had against Marlon, where he just absolutely dusted him all day. I think Marlon isn't really a vendetta guy. There was the one case where he had the matchup against Beckham, where he followed him the whole game, and he had an amazing game. I'm almost thinking this could be a repeat of that opportunity, and that could free up the better chance of a rotation of that last safety position between Ardarius Washington and Jackson.
Okay, so you'd have him chase left and right, Jamar Chase, to try and travel with him. Yeah, it'd be extremely unusual, and it may not be a matter of Marlon's versatility that it would happen, but Stevens made basically every snap of his recent career at right corner. They haven't really followed. I'm not traveled. I can't say it won't happen, but there's another issue as well, that if you want Marlon occasionally to be able to rush the quarterback, he really can only do that from the slot. I mean, it's not he can't do it at all, but it's 1/20th is likely, 1/50th is likely to do it from the outside. It has to be really rare.
Maybe to tweak my point a little bit, travel within the slot, because we saw him do that with Shakir.
Okay. All right. So if he's at left cornerback, you'll cover him there. If he happens to move the slot on either side, Humphrey can travel with him. Okay. And you're leaving right corner alone. All right.
And then that's when we bring in Wiggins to take care of the opposite side. And then we have Stevens on the right. So just keeping that continuity and then having him travel with him inside the boundaries.
That could certainly make sense. They might try that. And Hamilton, I think is my second significant player in this game. Once you get the Burrow off the notion that he's going to throw deep, the ultimate weapon you have is Hamilton and unleashing him to destroy the short passing game.
Yep.
And if you put him in the slot, which is where he may play some when there's a tight end out there. And this year, by the way, the Bengals are playing a lot more 12 than 11. Or sorry, a lot more 12 than they have in the past. Not necessarily than 11, but they used to be almost exclusively an 11 personnel team. Now they have a couple tight ends who are pretty decent, including Jasicki and Sample and who's the third one I'm forgetting now. But anyway, they get two on the field a fair amount. And when you see that, I think that's an ideal opportunity to get Hamilton in the slot. Yeah. If Hamilton is in the slot and he didn't play a lot of big nickel last week, I expect the Ravens to be in dime. And this is really a game where I think we won't see a lot of Simpson on third down. I think we'll see Hamilton and the dime on against Burrow in the short passing game.
And I was really excited to see that last week. We had a no BS game.
Attention sports fans, do you love winning? Of course you do. That's why you need to check out Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million members. And it's super easy. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 players, stat projections, sit back and watch the winnings roll in. How about a guaranteed win every week in September? Yep, just one Caleb Williams passing yard gets you a win each football weekend this month. That's 4 weeks of easy W's. But don't sleep on it. This deal vanishes when September ends. But wait, there's more. Worried about injuries ruining your lineup? Relax. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. If your player leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, your lineup stays in play. No more stressing over those unexpected injuries. This weekend, I'm taking Derrick Henry for more than 70 yards and Daniel Jones for less than 193 passing yards. 2 picks that I feel great about. And the best part is you can win up to 100 times your money with just 4 correct picks. So what are you waiting for? Download the Prize Pick app today and use the code RAVENS to get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's right, $50 free just for giving it a shot. More winning, less stressing. Prize Picks is where the fun begins.
Game plan, I feel like, on defense last week, especially with the formations we brought in and then the personnel. I think the disappointing part is that we didn't get to see Pierce out there. Just short of that rotation again. It really sucks to be in that spot. And if Pierce comes back healthy, are we going to continue the same trend of 1 D lineman down and 4 up? I don't know about that.
Meaning only activating 4DL, or are you saying?
Yes, exactly. Because once Pierce gets healthy, will we deactivate Urban like we've been doing the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, Urban was on the injury report earlier in the list, but I think he practiced full yesterday. Haven't heard it yet about today. I would expect all 5 to be active for a game like this. The Bengals' run game has actually been decent this year too, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But they have Chase Brown has been effective this year. He's been a high efficiency back. So, all right. Anything else we didn't cover here that we need to?
Did you get to your last point? Sure.
I talked about Hamilton being a center figure. I guess the last point that I would have about him is Burrow is a guy that really likes to have clean passing lanes. He's not a change his arm angle all over the place like Jackson is. So using Hamilton's size is potentially of great value. I mean, all arms up are good against Burrow, but Hamilton's size in particular, if he's reading the quarterback right and understands the routes going on behind him, which is a portable skill from when you come up to play deep safety, that's from deep safety. Then he's a guy who can put size between him and a receiver that might be between level 2 and 3 when Hamilton's up close to the line of scrimmage. So I like that. I think that's his presence has given other quarterbacks trouble. If you want a specific example, look back to the touchdown he scored against Cleveland, where it was a trick play, but I think that Watson underestimated what it was going to take to get the ball over Hamilton on a throw to Njoku out on the left side. Hamilton got up, tipped it to himself like a basketball player, getting his own rebound, and took it right to the house.
Yep. And I think one last point, having Hamilton in that box role is definitely amazing. On the back end, do you think we will continue to see Jackson or Washington out there?
That's a great point. I think Jackson's blown coverage puts him in a position where I think the absolute most mistakes additionally he can make in the near future is 1. I think if he made 2 more mistakes, he gets replaced. And I think Ardarius is probably the guy at this point. I had real questions, by the way. I don't know about you, about whether Ardarius could stand up to the tackling responsibilities of the position. And then I watch him take on Ferguson in the Dallas game, for example, much bigger man, and took him down really with ease.
Yeah, he's playing in phase. He's very smooth at what he's doing. I think just going through so many years of having injuries, you kind of learn the game and it kind of slows down for you. So I feel like when he got into it and really, because he played 2 weeks last season, 3 weeks.
Yeah, he got hurt in the first game, and then I'm forgetting if he came back or not. But he got hurt in first or second game, and had a sack in week 1 against the Texans, I think, and then in week 2 he got hurt.
Right. So I think this experience has just been valuable for him. He's just someone that's going to get better every single game. And I like Ardarius a lot. He's a good matchup, especially whether it's big or small in the slot. He's able to handle his own, and I think he understands the coverage in the back end enough, and he has that speed and athleticism because he almost had the opportunity to have an interception in Dallas, but he got pass interference on. So I'm just excited to see him more, and I think we kind of seen what Jackson is capable of at that position at this point in his career.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but Jackson the last 4 years has very clearly been in decline. He's had 10 yards per target allowed over that period. And, normally I'd say they might be okay with it. You might be okay playing with it, but Marcus Williams really isn't playing his best ball either. And the sad fact of the matter is there is no replacement for Marcus Williams. You can't take him out of there, but you can take Jackson.
Not a 1-for-1 for the free safety because he's too valuable.
No. Well, yeah, he's too valuable. He's probably also he's not really the same kind of instinctive center fielder that Williams has been in the past. Williams' per snap productivity in his first 2 years with the Ravens has been outstanding. It's just the problem had been his ability to get on the field, and then the shoulder injury last year, which limited his tackling somewhat. But he's been a very productive player when he's been on the field. He's just not. He doesn't seem to be the same player this year, and I hope that's not the beginning of the end for him with the Ravens, because this is a crossroads year for him. The Ravens are going to have about $5 or $6 million decision next year on whether they keep him, and they have a lot of cap demands. So they'll have to see how that goes out.
I think with Williams, could you think it's maybe Orr's philosophy takes less gambling out of the safety's hands? Do you think that could be the case? Why we've seen a decline in his plays made?
That's an interesting idea. I kind of, it's possible. I mean, what McDonald did to basically show a similar starting point each time, I think you could say that that it was less gambling. I think you could probably say that by being on the back end, by having eyes on the quarterback, you put him in a position to gamble play after play. Mm-hmm. So I can't really say exactly, but it's just, I'm not even sure it's been the gambling as much as just kind of being wrong on where he is. So he made a mistake in the back end of the end zone, and I forget if it's it was the Las Vegas game where he allowed the touchdown. Oh wait, it was the Dallas game, the touchdown to Tolbert, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's what middle of the end zone, the one that made it 28-18. Yeah. Yes. So you can make. I guess you can make mistakes from anywhere on the field, but if you're in zone coverage with your eyes on the quarterback, that's when you would tend to gamble on going for a football. And I couldn't tell you for sure how much difference there is between Orr and McDaniel. I know in terms of the pass rush, he has taken certain things away. Like the ability to call stunts on the field appear to have been greatly reduced. But otherwise, I don't know how I'd characterize it for the defensive backs. I'm sure the other people who watch that more closely probably would be able to do so. Okay. All right. Always fun to do this show with you, Frazier. Tell folks where they can talk football with you online.
You guys can reach me at Twitter/X at F_Rave8. That's F_RAVE8.
Please keep an eye out for the second show, the preview of the matchups for the offense, which will be coming out later today. For Frazier Tafari, this is Ken McKusick saying goodbye. We'll talk to you next time on Matchups.